As commander of the VFW Post 2210, I want to welcome to this Memorial Day service. Today we gather to pay tribute of those who died while answering the call of duty, honoring their sacrifice service to remind us not only of the cost of war, but perhaps more importantly, the price we must pay for peace. Let us take time today and every day to remember those who have fought and who are fighting for our freedoms. Please stand, salute, and join the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing while the Star Spangled Banner by the Municipal Band and sung by Abby Stolzer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you guys for helping.
Please be seated. We have our MIA POW. We have our MIA POW table set for our focus. Come on. It's all. We have our MIA POW table set as a focal point here today, as we will always remember those brave men and women who are unaccounted for and unable to join us for our ranks. We will never forget, we will not forget, we will never give up until all come home. We would like to honor our 50th year post members. They are John Buat, Mel Pfeiffer, thank you, comrades, for your service to our country and to our post. Today is a day for and about veterans, and we are grateful for community support on all levels of government. We have the Mayor of St. Genevieve, Dick Grimminger.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to honor those who've given everything so that we may enjoy the freedom and lives we're able to live today. Thank you.
We have the Sheriff, Gary Stolzer. I don't see any county commissioners here, so I'd like to ask Betty Arnold, past department president of the VFW Ladies Auxiliary, to say a few words.
Memorial Day is the day that Americans reconnect with their history and their core values by honoring those who gave their lives for the ideals we cherish. More than 1 million American service members died in the wars and conflicts this nation fought in since the first colonial soldiers took up arms in 1775 to fight for independence. Each person who died during these conflicts was a loved one, cherished by family and friends. Each was a loss to the community and our nation. Memorial Day is largely cut off from its historic meaning for many Americans. They have forgotten what the military stands for in our nation's history. That is why the work of the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars and its auxiliaries must continue and be stronger than ever before. What can you do as one individual in a small community? As Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that can. You are doing an important thing, making a difference just by being here today. You are not forgetting the sacrifices of our soldiers. We can all make a difference by our individual acts, and it is important that we act. If you are a veteran, share your stories. We must all honor the dead by helping the living. I encourage each of you to become active in the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars organizations and their auxiliaries. Make a commitment to make a difference. Thank you to all those who have served and those who continue to serve in our armed forces.
I would like to introduce Carl Buat, active duty reservist. At this time, I'm honored to present to you our keynote speaker, Walter Stormy Crawford, member of the post who served in Vietnam.
Well, it is a pleasure to be here today, and I look like a wounded warrior. I blew out my left hip and I broke my big toe, but aside from that, getting married can be hell. I'm going to pay for that. You know, one thing that people don't realize about veterans is there are many ways and many people and many organizations who support us. Now, I've been pretty fortunate. I've carried that on my resume very heavily, and I've been asked to participate in countless events. Some of the ones are, I've been on Johnny Carson and David Letterman and Crook and Chase and all these different places. And a lot of times I would ask the person who was in charge of that, why'd you get a hold of me? He says, well, you're working with a national symbol. And also, you're a veteran. So that was very important to me. I mean, very important. In doing that also, I got to meet some very interesting people. Gary Sinise, some of you may remember him. It's just amazing what he has done. He was on CSI New York, in case you don't know. And he also created the Lieutenant Dan Band after Forrest Gump. And I worked with him at a fundraiser not too long ago for injured veterans, wounded veterans. And he's a real gentleman, and he does this all for free. He has 50 concerts a year, and his backup is his singers are all from Chicago Institute of Music. His musicians are all from the same place, and these people all donate their time. And it's very impressive to see that. And no matter how you look at it, it's just very, very impressive. Because he wouldn't have to do that. He's famous. He's made his money. And, he's just a great guy. And another person I've had, Bret Michaels. Some of you are country fans. I've done some things with Bret Michaels, as well as Sammy Hagar. Now, some of you young kids will go, what's Van Halen? Well, it was a band, a damn good one, too. So those are the things that really tie veterans to everything else. They really do. And I'm going to start off by actually talking about something I read recently. It's called The Final Inspection. The soldier stood and faced his God, which must always come to pass. He hoped his sins were shining, his brass was shining as brightly as his shoes. Step forward now, you soldier. How shall I deal with you? Have you always turned the other cheek? To my church have you been true? The soldier squared his shoulders and said, no, Lord, I guess I ain't. Because those of us who carry guns can't always be a saint. I had to work most Sundays, and at times my talk was tough. And sometimes I've been violent, because the world can be awful rough. But I never took a penny that wasn't mine to keep, though I worked a lot of overtime when the bills got just too steep. And I never passed a cry for help, though at times I shook with fear. And sometimes, God forgive me, I wept unmanly tears. I know I don't deserve a place among the people here. That have never walked around except to calm fears. And if you've a place for me here, Lord, it ain't got to be so grand. I never expected or had too much, but if you don't, I understand. There was a silence all around the throne as a soldier said his due. Step forward now, you soldier. You've borne your burdens well. Walk peacefully on heaven's streets. You have spent your time in hell. And that's one thing about veterans. We don't always talk about what we experienced. And I guarantee you, most of you don't want to hear it. But among others with the same experience is where we can talk. We can be our own. And that's what's important about being a veteran. You know, on this beautiful day, I would like to share with you my personal views on our great country and this great Independence Day and all the holidays we have every year. We are all assembled here today to celebrate our freedom and to remember those that have helped us achieve it. While riding in a recent parade in St. Charles, Missouri, I was astounded by how few people took off their hats to honor the flag as our float passed by. In one area, the only person who got up and took his hat off as the flag passed by was a gentleman in a wheelchair. I later took the time to look this gentleman up and speak with him. He was a World War II veteran. It was then that I realized it's a hard and sometimes some of the instances to identify a veteran can be difficult, but in this case, it wasn't. So who actually is a veteran? It's quite simple. It's very easy to figure that out. But we don't always think of that as such. A veteran could be the law enforcement officer, could be a mechanic, could be your postal service people. It could be anybody, because we don't stick out among the crowd. A veteran is just an ordinary and yet extraordinary human being sometime who willingly offered his or her service and his life in the service of our country. These men and women were asked to serve and did. The great privilege of my life is to have been associated with these men and women of courage. And recently, there was a movement to take God out of our national anthem. I don't think this is the right time to do that. In fact, there may never be a right time. And I better not see it happen. We will make sure that this does not happen, because the men and women who have given their lives, over 1.1 million, deserve better. People don't realize unless about 1% of the United States population has served in the military to protect the other 99%. Every month, 26 veterans from Vietnam take their own life. Not all injuries are those that you can see. And veterans of all wars know exactly of what I speak. Our wives and children, friends and confidants know. You know, that's what it's all about. Because it's something you never, ever forget. And there's many people who are not religious anymore. But I noticed something in Vietnam. I never met an atheist in a firefight. Never. Doesn't make any difference where you go to church or where you pray, or if you just pray at home. When you do so, offer those of us who have served just a simple prayer. It's something we drastically need. When you see wounded veterans, offer them your assistance in any way you possibly can. That is important. If they all told their stories, you wouldn't sleep. And most of us don't sleep now anyway. You know, it's just one of those things. And not too long ago, and when I was in New York, a reporter said to me, you know, when were you there? And before I could say anything, my wife said, last night. Please remember to pray for veterans. The men and women you see here today in uniform have given up a lot. We have said, yes, we will serve our country, and at what cost, we don't know. St. Genevieve, the small town that it is, has given a lot of people to combat in the wars, even in Vietnam. And now we're involved in another war. And I think it's time that we paid attention to who we're electing to office. I really do. It's easy to say, yeah, we're going to go here. And then when things don't go right, well, we're going to pull out. And then all the men and women who have died up to that point did it for nothing. That really irks me. Having been in Washington, D.C. countless times to participate in various veterans events, I found it quite interesting to see these young people who didn't have to go into service, who weren't drafted, but who decided to make our country their priority. So take the time to shake their hand. They would appreciate that. And it is amazing how few people recognize that today. This next generation is spoiled. They've had it easy. You know, a lot of these people don't realize they go home at night to a safe house with a television set and a computer and heat and air conditioning and food. Most kitchens contain more food right now than the country of Darfur will see in a whole year. And yet, some people are not happy. I find this very, very hard to deal with. I understand the symbolism of this great day, while I am sure that most others, especially the young, do not. I have seen inhumanity that humans can conflict on each other. I know that there are some out there in this world who hate Americans and want to kill us. But I want them to personally know we're not going to let this happen. Not too long ago, I was standing in a grocery line. And there was, I'm not going to say what country, but there was a young lady there from one of the foreign countries, and using food stamps. She moved up there and was paying, and she was complaining about how long it took her to get in line, how long this has taken. And, you know, thank goodness my wife wasn't with me. So, excuse me, can I help you? She goes, what do you mean? I said, I tell you, I understand what you're saying. This is terrible. I said, but you're lucky. She goes, how's that? I said, we got an airport here in St. Louis, and it flies to all your countries where you live probably, and I'll buy you a freaking ticket. Well, I mean, she looked at me, and when I looked in her eyes, she goes, I ain't gonna screw with this guy. And she paid her food and left. And I had 6 or 7 people in line saying, God, I wish I could have had the guts to say that. I earned it the hard way. I earned it. I responded to the call when asked to protect this nation. And I find it funny now that there are those out there for gun control. And the reason I say that is I read an article not too long ago about the end of World War II. And they had this big, rich, important general from Japan who was signing the armistice. And later on, he walked over and one of the generals said to him, tell me something. why in the hell didn't you just come in and finish us off when you wiped out Pearl Harbor? And he said quite simply in broken English, because we knew if we came to the United States with our soldiers, it would take us 6 months to get to the Mississippi River, because behind every tree, rock, and house was somebody with a gun. And we were figuring we would lose 1.5 million to 2 million soldiers. Not to the military, but to American citizens. So I think we need to think twice about those people who are saying, well, we don't need this and we don't need that. Even our president does, and he sends these people to war. You know, I have no problem with this, having a war as long as he leads us. You know, you want to be, sure, come on, let's go. You know, and the politicians that you vote for, find out what they care about. Do they help Veterans Affairs? Finally, somebody looked into the VA and thought, oh, look at all these problems we got. You know, people are falsifying documents. People are dying waiting for treatment. You know, finally, now whether anybody else can straighten that boondoggle out, I doubt it. But, you know, I don't know, it's just not right. To me, it does not make a damn bit of sense. We should pay attention and make sure we know what the politicians we vote for want to do. I love my country, and I will defend it to my death. Simply because I know I have to. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my dad, they all served in the war. And I hope none of you have young children that will have to do the same. I pray that every day because my grandchildren are getting old enough where eventually they're going to have to make a decision on that. But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. That is so important. I want you to know, when we do go to war, we don't hide behind women and children. We stand up and fight. And that's what they do. They barricade themselves behind women and children. That's really a tough guy. And that's why we can win these battles, because we know that we have a powerful military, a well-trained military that is equipped well. And some of these countries, if they don't want to fight alongside of us, fine, we're going to go home. You know, if all of a sudden we leave and they run when something happens, good luck. You know, we have to start to figure out to help those people who are willing to help themselves. It's just a real mess. And I don't know if there's any honest problems to solve that or any way to solve it. I don't know. We all want to be someone who is important. I will be a military person forever. When I see a young man or lady in a uniform, I will stop them and shake their hand. Going through airports, like unfortunately I have to do a lot, I'll always see a bunch of military going from one place to the other. They're all sitting at the bar. I will go up to the lady who's taking care of them and say, what's their tab? And she'll give it to me. I'll take out some money with the tip and say, here, tell them it's free. It's from an old soldier. They look around, they can't figure who it is. I said, just don't let them know who did it. I'm not looking for any kind of adulation. I'm trying to tell them we really respect what they do. That is so important. The price we pay for not paying attention is terrible. Some people recently had been a bit offended that Lee Marvin, the actor, had buried in Arlington Seminary. Boy, I can't even talk today. Cemetery. And, you know, they just didn't understand that. It is time that our veterans be organized. and appreciated. Some people recently have been a bit offended about certain things that go on, but the things they don't care about is the injuries you don't see publicly, especially PTSD. A lot of people don't believe that that's the problem. I suggest you talk to my wife. We remember sometimes, and simple little things can bring it back. A loud bang, screeching of tires. You just never know what it's going to be. We have to constantly be on guard that we don't fly backwards into that hellhole we left. You know, on another note, there's little people that think they're big, and because we allow them to do that. You know, recently, the SEALs, Navy SEALs, got a lot of accolades, which they so deserved. I was glad to see that finally Special Ops was realized. We didn't exist. That makes it real hard to get benefits from the military. All our MOSs were changed, and the president was up there saying, we're not going to go to Cambodia. Man, somebody ought to call that moron and tell him what's going on. We were 5 miles inside. So that's what I'm saying. When you have a chance to give an accolade to someone, please do so. Please do so. I mean, it's so, so important. You know, these people that fought on all the different battles in World War II, they all have their stories. Some of them went through pure hell like we did. And that was not necessarily a good thing. Our problem was we didn't know who the hell was on our side and who wasn't. You couldn't trust anybody. And I don't want my son or my grandson to have to go through that. You know, our young men and women are now fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan and, you know, trying to help those people help themselves. It's obvious they're not. So it's time to pull out, secure our borders, and make sure that the people in this great country who are paying for all this can see some of the benefits. As we celebrate this great day, let us all not forget the high cost our country and St. Genevieve has paid for us to be here today. Our cemeteries are filled with proud men and women who have given all so that we could be here today and enjoy this celebration. Let us never forget this day of my life like I did. Let us never think that a day in a life like this is not going to happen again. When we came home, the happiest day was when I got off that damn plane. Then I could relax. But when we came home, we were met at the airport with protesters calling us a lot of things. A lot of things. They have prepared us for this. You know, don't beat the hell out of the little guys. You know, okay. So we held back. Well, most of us did. Some didn't. And, you know, the sad thing is, where were these people when we needed help? They didn't want to help. But where are they now? You look out here and you see all these veterans' hats today. Yeah, every veteran's hat. They're all over the place. But you never see, I went to Canada hats. You don't see anything like that. You don't say, I was at Woodstock. You don't see those hats. And I honestly think it's because they're embarrassed. But that's all right. I don't hold it against them. As long as they don't say something stupid to me, we'll be okay. And my wife pretty much keeps you reined in. Let us never forget these great people. that did this for us today. And you see a lot of men and women in uniform here. Thank them, which I know you all have done, because their family has paid a very strong price. Now with me today is my #1 Eagle Wrangler. This is Paige, and Paige is going to be available over there later on if anybody wants their picture taken with the Eagle. Liberty has traveled all over the United States with me. He's got more frequent flyer miles than anybody else in this room. I mean, it's amazing. This bird's been around. He's 22 years old, and he's a seasoned veteran when it comes to flying on airplanes. And it's not as easy as it once was. We used to just take the birds up to the gate, and they'd pick them up, put them underneath, and away we go. Then came all this other crap. And what they're doing now is we have to run them through security. And I always travel with a cooler of food, because you really can't order mice and rats at the hotels, especially the nice ones that I stay at. So we carry that with us, and I remember when this first all came about, they took the birds up for inspection, and I put my cooler on there, my suitcase there, we're going through, and this like, the guy's doing the little thing, you know, where they watch. Backed it up. What the hell? What do you have in there? I said, food. She goes, well, we're going to have to open that. And without it, right out of the back room came the head of the NSA area there, was to, don't open that. Why? Because we did once and it smelled here for 2 days. That's Walt Crawford. Let him go. You know, those mice and rats are not trained to shoot, you know. So, I mean, they all know me now, so I can't play jokes on them. And I got to the hotel in the Sheraton right across from the Capitol, late in the evening one time, and Liberty was with me. And I went up to my room and I got him all set. He turned on the TV and he was sitting there on his perch. And I went down to the bar, which is the only place you could get food this time of night. And there was I call them suit and tie guys, you know, they always wear a suit and tie to work every day. They were all down at the bar. There's probably 10 or 11 of them. And I'm sitting at the other end by myself, waiting for my food. And this very attractive young lady walks in. And she's in business attire, too. She had a woman's business suit on. She looked good. I mean, she looked good. She's sitting between the suit and tie guys and me. And they're throwing some lines at her that I gave up on in the 60s. I mean, you know, I said, gee whiz, you guys are that stupid, you know. And finally she looks at me, she says, hey, and here I am in blue jeans and a t-shirt. I said, yes, don't you have a line? I said, I'll make you a deal. She goes, what's that? If I can give you a line you have never heard, will you buy me supper tomorrow night? Hell yes. So I said, she said, what's your line? I said, would you like to come up to my room and see my eagle? And she says, one of the suit and tie guys says, oh God, he named it. You know. I said, no, what I mean is a real eagle. She goes, yeah, right. I said, I'll tell you what, we'll get security, we'll get the concierge, I'll take you out. I don't want you to think this is a gimmick. So, okay. So all the security guys, because they're kind of wondering what the hell this idiot is pushing out to her. And we got on one elevator, and all the suit and tie guys got on the other ones, and we got up there. It looked like a parade going down the hall, you know, all these guys. And I opened the door, and there's old Liberty watching nature on TV. And she goes, oh my God. I said, I like my steaks medium. And she did. She followed through, took me out the night. There's absolutely no way this woman had anything in common with me, but we had some fun. She said, I'm really glad the way you shoved it to those other guys. She goes, that was so cool. You know, I said, don't you get sick of that crap? She goes, yeah, I just don't pay attention. And I said, well, it shouldn't be happening to you. You seem like a nice lady. And we corresponded for about a year, and she was very moving up the ladder. I'm not going to say the company she was with, but she was extremely smart. and she was savvy. And the next night, I got my steak and, I got my mushrooms and potatoes and everything else. And look in the window outside, the suit and tie guys are going, God, he's in there with her, And I said, boys, I walked out, I said, there's one thing you got to learn. If you don't have an eagle, you're out of luck. But we take liberty everywhere and anywhere. And a lot of times the pilots on the plane have a bird story they want to tell me. And it's just kind of cool. Now, he is extremely comfortable right here. He has to be. Because when you go up to Washington, D.C., that's a 3-ring freaking circus up there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And when I was asked to participate in this one special event, all the big shots were going to be there, the lady called, she goes, yeah, the generals would like you up here, and so would Senator so-and-so and Senator so-and-so. I said, yeah, okay. But they told me, well, the thing is, here's the situation. I said, what you're saying is don't dress like I normally dress, in blue jeans and a t-shirt. She goes, yeah. I said, well, you call them up, you tell them I'll be there, but I'm not going to be wearing any pants. What? I said, just tell them that. Okay. So she did. In about 15 minutes, she called me back. She's laughing. She goes, man, you had me going. She goes, turned out a couple of senators knew me, and they said, when I have to do a black tie event, I always wear my Scottish kilts. That's what I wear. And she said, oh, you're going to wear your kilt? I said, yes, and before you asked the question, nothing. Which means we've learned how to sit. I tell you that much. You learn how to sit with one of those things on. Some women need to learn that too. But anyway, I want to thank everybody here today. And if you want to come over and get your picture taken and give your sympathy to my wife, please feel free to do so. She is truly a saint, and I know it, because not only do I have PTSD, but now I can't walk. So, I mean, everything, that can be very nice, I'm going to get used to that. Can you get me this? Or, hey, that over there needs to be moved, and because it's just one of those things. But thank you, veterans. You all know from where I come and what I speak. And I hope you all have a great day and evening. God bless America, and God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to thank Stormy for being our guest today. Please join in our ritualist service. Comrades, attend to it. As long as 2 comrades survive, so long will we render tribute to our heroic dead. On this day, forever concentrated to our heroic deed, we are assembled once again to express sincere reverence. This moment represents the resting place of many departed comrades who have served in all wars. Whether the body of our comrades lies in the ground is hallowed, our presence here today is a solemn commemoration of all these men and women and expression of our tribute to the devotion of duty, courage, and patriotism. By their service, whether it was on land, sea, or air, they have made our debtors. For the flag of our nation still flies over the land of our free people. Parade rest, Comrade Chaplain, you will ask the divine blessing.
Father of us all, in the depth of our solid reverence, we realize the truth of the inspired words. I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. As comrade after comrade departs, we march on with our ranks growing thinner. Help us to be faithful unto thee and to one another. Look with mercy on the widows and the children of our departed comrades, we beseech thee, and with thy own tenderness console and comfort those who are bereaved. Heavenly Father, bless our country with freedom, peace, and righteousness. Through thy favor, may we meet at last before thy throne in heaven. We praise thy great and holy name forever and ever. Amen.
This, you got to read that. You got to read names.
We're going to read the names of our deceased members in this last year. Norman Tomier, Joe App Jr., Clarence Balder Sr., Arvel Herbst, Wayne Gamache, Henry Hogue, Ray Greither, Leo Chipper Balzer, Robert Mellon Grass, Cletus Giesler. Cleet was a longtime member of our Honor Guard. Edward Herbst, Larry Moser, Ralph Tubby Rodemar, Julius Brown, Oliver Geck, Victor Yokerst. Vic was a longtime member of our Honor Guard. Vernon Bader and Raymond Swigert.
We will now continue to pay our respects to the departed comrades. Comrade Senior Vice Commander.
On behalf of VFW Post 2210 of America, I place this wreath in remembrance of our fallen comrades.
Comrade Junior Vice Commander.
I place this symbol of purity on this comrade's grave. May each future generation emulate the unselfish courage of all men and women who fought for our freedom.
Comrade Junior, or Comrade Officer of the Day.
In memory of the heroic dead who have fallen in the defense of the United States of America, I place this tribute of our devotion and everlasting remembrance.
American Legion Commander, Post 150.
On behalf of the American Legion Post 150, I place these flowers in remembrance of our fallen veterans.
American Legion Commander, Post 554.
On behalf of American Legion Post 554, we dedicate these flowers to all of our deceased veterans and hope the end will come soon.
American Legion Riders. Sons of the American Legion.
On behalf of the Sons of the Legions, bring up these flowers to our fallen comrades.
Sons of the Union Veterans of the Civil War.
On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel St. James, Camp 326 of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, I place these flowers in remembrance.
Madam President of the VFW Ladies Auxiliary. Madam President of the American Legion Auxiliary, St. Genevieve.
On behalf of American Legion Auxiliary, Unit 150, Department of Missouri, I lay these flowers as a tribute to our fallen veterans.
Madam President of the American Legion Auxiliary, Bloomsdale.
On behalf of Bloomsdale Post 554 Ladies Auxiliary, I will lay these flowers in remembrance of our fallen veterans.
On behalf of our glorious republic, for who our comrades enlisted and served, I place this emblem of our nation. The flag of our country was theirs to defend. Its glorious colors shall wave over them in death as in life, for everyone to behold. To you comrades who have departed, we render our final salute. Comrade, Officer of the Day.
Detail, hands up, forward, hold. Forward, hold. Detail, hold.
I'd like to thank the members of the Muni Band, Abby Stolzer, for being with us today. Thank you all for joining us today as we remember and salute our veterans. We also want to thank Channel 98.7 for televising our program, and the St. Genevieve Herald for their coverage of the events. A special thank you to Connie's By the Bunch for providing our flowers for our memorial service. We are grateful to those families who all allow us to display their veterans' flags. We are sorry that we could display the flags outside because of the weather felt that we should not. Each one represents a veteran. Offer a silent thank you as you pause to remember their service to our country. Thank you again for participating, and please join us in for lunch and music. Thank you.
We're going to start at